What is going on, Twins fans, and welcome back to another episode of Twins Latest. I'm Sam Calder. Hope you are all doing well. We've got a lot to get to in today's video, so grab a snack or something to drink, whatever you got to do. Get comfortable. But before we get to any of that, please do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel for Twins news and updates every single day. We are just 2 short yet long weeks away from opening day, and we're going to talk about that a little bit in today's video. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and kick things off by looking at yesterday's game against the Tigers. The Twins came in looking to get back-to-back wins for the first time this spring since February 22nd and 23rd. And they did. It took them a little while to get going, but they came out with a 2-1 walk-off victory, and we'll get to who had the walk-off here in a matter of minutes. Just like Tuesday, the Twins were held scoreless until the 8th inning before getting some late life offensively. But let's take a look at some of the notable offensive performances from the day, both the good and the bad, but we will, of course, start with the bad. It was not Trevor Larnach's day at the plate. He was 0 for 3 with a strikeout while DHing. He did have a couple of longer at-bats, but they led to just a ground out and a strikeout, so not a whole lot to show for it. James Outman had the exact same final line as Larnach, 0 for 3 with a strikeout, and neither of the balls he put in play were hit hard. I think Larnach had a hard-hit ground out, but overall, not much to show for Outman. Alan Roden was also 0 for 3, and just in general, it wasn't a super strong day offensively for the Twins. Just 7 total hits, though they did draw 5 walks as well. And over the last few days, it does seem like there's been some bad luck go against the Twins in terms of balls put in play, but good to get that out of the way now when, these games don't actually count for anything. On the positive side of things, how about Matt Wallner? He had a very slow start to the spring, but might just be starting to find things, knock on wood. He has 2 hits over his last 4 at-bats, including a home run Tuesday and a very hard-hit single yesterday, both of which had a 108-mile-an-hour exit velocity. There's still some swing and miss present for him, but good to see Wallner start to square some balls up. The man responsible for yesterday's walk-off was the Twins' number 2 ranked prospect, Kalen Culpepper. He went 2 for 2 on the day with a pair of 104 or harder mile-per-hour exit velocities, along with a run and an RBI. He's not starting games, but he's playing in games basically every day off the bench. And considering we've already seen Emmanuel Rodriguez, Gabriel Gonzalez, Connor Prielipp, etc. be assigned to minor league camp, the fact Culpepper is still up, in my opinion, says something. Pancho Ruiz got the scoring started for the Twins in the 8th. He was up with 1 out and the bases loaded, and he had a well-hit ball to the outfield that wound up being a sacrifice fly. Austin Martin bounced back after an 0 for 3 day yesterday. He went 1 for 1 with the walk. And then lastly, Luke Keeschall had another base hit today, along with a stolen base. But let's transition over to the pitching side of things. And the pitching was lights out yesterday for all 9 innings. The Twins gave up a total of 4 hits and 3 walks on the day while striking out 14 Tigers. Taj Bradley got the start and ran his pitch count up to 69, 46 of which were strikes. So a good ratio for him. He allowed 1 earned run on 3 hits and a pair of walks while striking out 7 over 5 very strong innings. He finished with 7 whiffs and a 29% CSW, which stands for called plus swinging strikes. 29% is very good for that metric. His fastball sat 97 miles an hour, got up to 98.8. And despite my belief that he'd be better in a longer relief role for the Twins, he looked pretty damn good today against mainly backups, though he did face a few Tiger starters. After Bradley, Taylor Rogers, Andrew Chafin, and Justin Topa all had 1, 2, 3 innings in the 6th, 7th, and 8th. All 3 of them struck out a pair of Tigers, and then Anthony Banda came in to shut it down in the 9th. He gave up a hit and a walk, but he got it done. And part of me wonders if this could be a sign of what the bullpen picture could look like, over the course of the season. All 4 relievers that threw yesterday, I predict, will be in the Twins bullpen. Spoiler alert, we might talk about that a little bit later in the episode. So could that be a preview of how Derek Shelton will manage it? I don't know, but just something worth monitoring. But great to see the Twins pick up multiple wins in a row as they move to 6-11 overall this spring. And they will look to make it 3 straight wins this afternoon against the Red Sox, who have really had our number this spring. But shifting gears from yesterday's matchup, let's take a look at today's prospect deep dive. And it pains me a bit to say, but we've got all of 3 prospect deep dives left before we have hit on everyone inside the Twins' top 30 prospects list from MLB Pipeline. But after that, I'll have my own list that I'll reveal next week. But I digress. today's prospect is someone I don't think we've talked about at all so far on the show. It is catcher slash outfielder Kadeem Diaw. And despite being spelled D-I-A-W, it is pronounced Diaw. I can't confirm that. Diaw was drafted by the Twins in the third round of the 2024 MLB draft out of Loyola Marymount University. He was taken 27 picks after Dasan Hill, fun fact. And Diaw is ranked as the Twins' 23rd prospect according to MLB Pipeline. He stands at 6'1", 215 pounds. So he's a very well put together individual. And along with catcher, I mentioned, he spent some time in both center field and right field in college and since being drafted. He's definitely a stronger defender behind the plate, but never hurts to have some, extra versatility. And usually with catchers either way, it's usually all or nothing, unless it's, a catcher who can also play first base. But you very rarely see, someone split time between catcher and outfield at the major league level. That just doesn't really happen. Looking at his college numbers, they're not eye-popping, but they certainly warranted the Twins using a top 100 pick on him. In his final season at Loyola Marymount, he only appeared in 20 games, but he hit a very, very impressive .432 with a .500 on-base percentage, 14 extra base hits, and 11 stolen bases. So he was doing a little bit of everything. I mean, more than a bit, if I'm being honest here. He was doing quite a bit of everything. He only hit 11 total home runs over 80 collegiate career games. So fly ball power is not a huge part of his offensive profile, but he's got a great hit tool, and he moves really well for a catcher, hence why he's been playing some outfield. Looking at his numbers from last season, he was hitting the ball really well and getting on base at a very high clip. Across 42 games between low A and high A, although I think it was like 39 of those games were at high A. He hit .297 with a .450 on base percentage, 4 home runs, 4 stolen bases, and 30 strikeouts to 20 walks. Very good production, but as was the case in college, he could not stay healthy. He had some hamstring problems last year that limited him to just those 42 games. That's really been the only thing holding him back thus far. He's hit the ball well at every stop he's ever had. He just can't stay on the field. Defensively, he had a 17% caught stealing rate, which is not great. We talked about that when we looked at Enrique Jimenez. A league average caught stealing rate in the MLB is right around 27-28%. So considering he's at 17% at high A, there's some room to grow in the arm strength department for Kadeem Diaw. Looking ahead to this coming season, though, I think you can expect more of the same for him. A strong batting average with great on-base skills. Not a lot of pop, but 3 quality tools for a catcher who can also get on base at an elite level. He's not going to be a flashy player, but he's a really solid player overall, and he'll definitely be higher than 23rd in my personal Twins top 30 prospects list that will come out at some point next week. So stay tuned for that. And then to wrap up the video, as we do every week, it is that time to take a look at this week's updated Sam Calder opening day roster projections for our Minnesota Twins. And as always, we've got 13 hitters and 13 pitchers. And even if I wanted to have more than 13 pitchers to, give myself some added flexibility out of the bullpen or as a 6th starter, whatever it may be, I legally cannot do so since 13 pitchers is the limit for that. But with that out of the way, let's start at catcher. And once again, it's still Jefferson Caratini. The only way someone else, which would be Alex Jackson, would enter that mix is if either Jeffers or Caratini gets hurt. But moving over to first base, it's also still the same. It'll be some mix of Josh Bell, Cody Clemens, and Caratini. I talked last week, though, about how my mood on the DH position has changed. I don't think Josh Bell is going to be there primarily anymore. He'll still DH some days, obviously, but I think he'll be the primary first baseman. I'd anticipate Bell will start at first roughly 50% of the time, with Clemens and Caratini making up the other 50% more or less. At second base, Luke Keeschel figures to start here most days when healthy, though I anticipate Cody Clemens, Tristan Gray, and potentially Austin Martin getting some run at second as well. And we've seen Keeschel get some run in left field this spring, so who really knows what Derek Shelton has planned for him. At third base, I really hope it is Royce Lewis for like 150 games, but it probably will not be. So Tristan Gray is probably the primary backup there, in my opinion. Brooks Lee can slide over from short if need be as well, which is a great transition to shortstop, where it will, in fact, be Brooks Lee most days, I would think. Tristan Gray is probably the primary backup shortstop, as well as being the primary backup third baseman, in my opinion. And we talked last week about how thin the depth is on the left side of the infield. So it would be great if, this guy like Kalen Culpepper forced his way into an early call-up this summer. But just to recap the infield, I have mentioned 9 names in Jeffers, Caratini, Bell, Cody Clemens, Kershaw, Tristan Gray, Austin Martin, Brooks Lee, and Royce Lewis. Martin will, in all likelihood, end up being a primary outfielder. But since he can play some middle infield, I threw him in there. But then shifting over to the outfield, we've got room for 4 more names. And it kind of seems like the outfield situation is finalized after this week, which is kind of disappointing for these projections. But Walker Jenkins is hurt. Both Emmanuel Rodriguez and Gabriel Gonzalez, like I mentioned, have been assigned, or reassigned, I should say, to minor league camp. So it would appear that in addition to Austin Martin, it'll be Buxton, Larnach, Wallner, and Alan Roden making the opening day roster. And looking ahead to opening day, the Twins will be taking on the Royals, who will very likely be throwing Cole Ragans on opening day, who's a lefty. So my projected opening day lineup with the left-handed pitcher factored in, it's a little bit unorthodox. We got Austin Martin leading off in left, Luke Kershaw hitting second at second, Byron Buxton hitting third in center field, Ryan Jeffers hitting cleanup behind the plate, Josh Bell hitting fifth at first, Trevor Larnach hitting sixth and DHing, Royce Lewis hitting seventh at third, Matt Wallner hitting eighth and right, and Brooks Lee hitting ninth at short. This looks very different from how my lineup versus a righty would look. I don't love putting Wallner in the 8 spot, but I didn't really know where else to put him. I don't want to move Martin out of leadoff since he was fantastic against lefties last year. And I really like the 2 through 5 spots, so that's kind of just where he fell. But that's how my lineup would look against a lefty. As for the pitching staff, my starting rotation has not changed. It's still Ryan, Ober, Simeon Woods Richardson, Mick Abel, and Zebby Matthews. I did jump Abel to the the 4th starter, and bumped Zebby down to number 5. But it's still the same 5 names. In the bullpen, there's still the 4 names I'm very confident in, and 4 that I am not. The 4 that I'm confident in are Taj Bradley, as, like I said, kind of that longer reliever spot starter, as well as Taylor Rogers, Cole Sands, and Anthony Banda. But that's only half the bullpen. We've still got 4 other names to get in there. I think Andrew Chafin and Eric Orsi will both earn a spot as well. But that makes 3 righties and 3 lefties with room for 2 more pitchers. I'm very adamant, and I talked about this earlier this week, that Zach Kent will crack the bullpen. He has looked great this spring, and to some extent, I'm not sure that the Twins would have brought him in as late as they did if they weren't looking for another option. And he's also already on the 40-man roster for what it's worth. And then the last name for me in the bullpen is somebody I did not have included last week. It is Justin Topa. I had Cody Loyereson in instead of him last week. And even though Topa has been pretty not great this spring, to put it lightly, he's still got more of a track record than anybody else in competition. But there you have it. That is my Twins projected opening day roster. We will update these again next week, but that will be the final set of updates before the actual opening day. So we are getting close, which is a beautiful thing. But folks, that is going to do it for today's edition of Twins Latest. Thank you guys so much for watching. Excuse me, I just knocked over my ring light. But please do me a huge favor and like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you are not already for daily Twins news and updates. If there is something Twins related that you would like me to talk about in a future episode, please let me know down in the comments. But until next time, I'm Sam Calder, and I'm out. Peace.